But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burned up. Seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of persons ought ye to be in all holy conversation and godliness, looking for and hasting unto the coming of the day of God, wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. Nevertheless, we according to his promise look for new heavens and a new earth, wherein dwelleth righteousness.
So it was a good day. Moving on. Yesterday, day before, I don't remember when this happened, but the head of NATO, the General Secretary of NATO, said that it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when Ukraine joins NATO. Now, this has been the big sticking point. If any of you watched that interview with Tucker Carlson and Vladimir Putin, going through the historical reasons that Putin did, basically it was, they invaded Ukraine because Ukraine was getting too close, and that they were becoming part of NATO or becoming too close with NATO. And now it's been said for quite a while that, you know, even if Ukraine became part of NATO, that's a long way out. Well, now we've got the General Secretary saying that, yeah, it's going to happen. It's definitely going to happen. Ukraine will be part of NATO. Vladimir Putin has fired back, I saw this morning, and he basically said that's risking nuclear war. That if that happens, the West, Europe, will most definitely be directly involved in a war with Russia. Now, why would they do this? Why would NATO? I mean, why would we care? I'm not saying that we don't care about Ukraine and the Ukrainian people, but why would there be such a push to get Ukraine in NATO? Ukraine, I mean, there's no reason why it can't be kind of this, you know, demilitarized neutral zone. If there was some kind of agreement worked out on both sides, I don't see why it couldn't happen that way. Other than there's this desire to start a war with Russia. And I believe strongly that that's what the West wants. I think that's what NATO and the Western alliances, that's what they want. They want a war with Russia. And they haven't been able to provoke Russia enough yet to get Russia to go to war against the West, only with Ukraine. And I think it's just not worked out as they planned. I think that they had expected by now that Russia would, you know, drop bombs on Poland or somewhere else, some type of provocation, and they just haven't been able. I mean, the Nord Stream thing didn't seem to pan out. There's all the attacks in Crimea, the attacks in Russia. I think they're really trying to get Russia involved in this war. They want a world war. Europe's economy is as bad, if not worse. Actually, it is worse than the United States economy. The West is hurting financially, and they're existing on this fake debt at this point. The U.S. dollar's hurting. BRICS is growing. They expect another 30 or so countries to join BRICS this year. It's getting more and more powerful. Is it ready to overtake the dollar this year or next year? Probably not, but it's definitely beginning down a path that will definitely challenge greatly the U.S. dollar, which of course is the dominant currency. It's the Western currency. And so there's so many things happening in the regards to Russia becoming a bigger threat to the West. And the West, the only thing that they have is to go to war against them. And so I think that that's what we're seeing happen. They want a war. I'm very convinced of that. I'm very convinced that the Bidens and the Obamas and the all of the other globalist elites, they want a war, and they're trying to make one happen. And whether you like or dislike or whatever it is that feelings you might have for Russia and Vladimir Putin, one thing that I think has been proven through this is that they're very patient, tolerant. Yes, they invaded Ukraine, but if you look at the facts and you kind of could say, well, that maybe it is justified, maybe it's not. But regardless of that, I think that there's been a lot of tolerance on their part for the last couple of years, at least. And it looks to me like NATO is trying to really, really poke the bear, figuratively and literally. And it tells me that this whole World War III, which in my opinion has been for a while, we've been in World War III for a while, okay? But I'm talking an overt, kinetic, obvious World War III. That we're headed there. I think we're headed there regardless. I think that the West, the NATO alliance, that the United States, they're going to make it happen one way or the other. And you know how it is. If they can't make it happen by provoking Russia, they'll make it happen by some kind of false flag. We have to start really preparing for this. This is a major deal. Will this affect us here at the homeland? Will we possibly see an invasion or an attack here in the United States? Maybe, maybe not. But even if we don't, there's still a lot of things that will directly affect us here in the United States once we get fully involved, fully engaged in a global war. Economically, sending troops off, draft, supply chain. There's a lot of things. Government just growing larger and more, intrusive laws into our lives, because that typically happens in some type of war scenario.
Barakah Yahweh, Barakah Yahweh Shai, Barakah Yahweh, Barakah Yahweh Shai, Barakah Yahweh, Barakah Yahweh Shai, Barakah Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachah HaKodash, Kol Thapa Arath, Hawad, Wahaloyam La, Allah Hayanawa, Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachah HaKodash. And what I just said in Allah Shwan Kodash, the Lashon Kodash being the ancient Paleo-Hebrew, or in other words, the true biblical Hebrew for holy tongue or language. And what I just said is, all glory, honor, and praises abundantly and continually to our power, Yahweh, the true name of the Heavenly Father, who the world ignorantly and incorrectly calls God, in the name of His only begotten Son, our Savior, our Messiah, our Deliverer, Yahweh Shah HaMashiach, who the world ignorantly and incorrectly calls Jesus Christ, in the name of the Holy Spirit. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Much peace, love, and respect to the brothers teaching and pushing this truth out the four corners of the earth, to the hopeful elect, the 144,000 and the 1/3, as well as the rest of the elect scattered abroad amongst the heathen nations to the four corners of the earth, east, north, south, and west. To you I say Shalom. This is your brother Ra'aib Tazadakwa coming back at you again, all through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shah, with another lesson. Yahweh Razah is going to be edifying and encouraging to you Akim and any Akwaf that may be listening and or watching. That's brothers and sisters. All right. Now, first thing I'm going to say is this isn't in transit, so bear with me, Baba Kushab, which means please. If there's any pauses, hesitations, or delays, you know why. And I do appreciate your patience in that regard. So this is an in transit. So now you see here, this is Travis, the prepared homesteader. The West really wants war! ! And you see his page, the prepared homestead. It's not him, homesteader, homestead, right? And his name is Travis. And the title there you see, the West really wants war. And his overall take on things, with very minor exceptions, is spot on. All right, his overall take on things is on the money. And, if anything, he's understating things a little bit. All right, but the overall message that his overall take, his overall assessment, the overall message that he's speaking in this clip that I played, with little exception, is right on the money. All right. And he's telling you he doesn't see it any other way but going to nuclear war. He doesn't see it any other way but going up to an all-out war, which will go nuclear, right? And he did bring out the fact that Putin says that if Ukraine joins NATO, Putin said that if Ukraine joins NATO, that's risking nuclear war. But there's other things that are going to lead to nuclear war as well. You know, they have a whole nuclear doctrine, right? And their nuclear doctrine is, if they feel that Russia, as is currently constituted, is under threat, is under or exposed to an existential threat, then that's also cause to use nuclear weapons, right? So it's not just Ukraine joining NATO. All right, but anyway, it is going to go there. I just did a lesson last night. If the Spirit moves you to do so, you can check that out, where Dmitry Medvedev, the number 2 in command over there in Russia, was saying that, hey, people are saying that we're not going to, use nuclear weapons. Yes, we will. Yes, we will. You're wrong. We will use nuclear weapons. And not only did he say that, he also said that the nuclear clock is ticking, and it's ticking at a faster pace, right? So Travis is correct that the Third World War has already begun, but it has not heated all the way up yet. It has not become an openly kinetic war between the West. It hasn't become openly. It is kinetic between the West and Russia, but it hasn't become openly kinetic between the West and Russia just yet, right? All right. But when it does, it is going to go all the way to all-out thermonuclear war. Thus saith the scriptures, right? Let's go ahead and get into the scriptures, and we don't need Travis anymore. All right, and a lot of people don't understand, a lot of so-called Christians, which actually the correct label for them would be pagan Christians, they don't understand that the Apostle Peter wrote about thermonuclear war. That's what this is talking about here in 2 Peter, the 3rd chapter. But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, not to those that are of the elect, not to those that are looking for and hastening his coming. All right, not for those that love his coming, but for everybody else, which is going to be the vast majority of everyone, the vast majority of the population of the world, including the vast majority of Israelites, right? But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise. What's this great noise? That great noise is the detonation of thermonuclear warheads. That's the great noise. All right. The heavens passing away is what's called a thermonuclear mushroom cloud. It's also described as the heavens departing as a scroll. It's also described as other ways too. That's the only one I can think of off the top of my head right now. It's at the end of a long day, but here it's described as the heavens passing away, right? And later on it's described as the heavens being on fire, right? In which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements. Get yourself a periodic table, and what do you find on there? Different various elements. Those are the elements that it's talking about here in 2 Peter 3 and 10. It's not talking about the Honda elements. All right, it's talking about the elements on the periodic table, because the iron is not going to melt. The metals are not going to melt. Okay, the concrete is not going to melt. The very atoms that make up the iron, the metal, the concrete, and everything is going to melt and burn. All right, the very atoms, the very protons, neutrons, and electrons. What type of heat can do that? Well, it's going to tell you. And the elements shall melt with fervent heat. Okay? Fervent heat. All right? And the NLT didn't even try to describe what that is. It just says disappear in the fire. Disappear in fire. Well, it doesn't say fire. It tells you what type of fire it is. There's a descriptor on there. The descriptor is fervent. And the NLT just left that out. Right? It should have said, scorching or something. It just left that out. It just didn't even bother with that. But what does it mean, or what type of heat does it take to qualify, or fire does it take to qualify as fervent? Well, thermonuclear fire, man. A fire that has heat, that generates heat, that generates heat approaching and comparable to the heat of the sun. That's the type of fire, right? And how you going to get that fire here on Earth? Thermonuclear. Nuclear, man. Nuclear war. The Apostle Peter is writing about all-out thermonuclear war here. The Earth also, not the whole entire planet, not like every square inch of the Earth is going to be burned up, but there's going to be thermonuclear fires burning on various places of the Earth, and America, Babylon the Great, is going to be completely and totally burned with that thermonuclear fire, as well as or along with the land of Israel, and then various other places as well are going to be hit by that thermonuclear fire around the Earth, but not everywhere. And then other places that are not hit by the thermonuclear fire, you may have wildfires there. You know how it's wildfires sweeping across, Esau's lands. You know, you may have wildfires, you may have fires from conventional warfare, right? But the whole planet is not literally going to be on fire, but there will be fires all around and over the planet. Okay? All right, as it says in the book of Ecclesiastes, I forget which chapter and which verse, the earth abideth forever, right? The earth abideth forever. So this right here, this thermonuclear destruction, this is the world being destroyed with fire, which is the second death, right? The second death. Well, in the first death, what was that? If you have a second, you had to have a first. So what was the first death? It was the flood. But what happened after the flood? The Heavenly Father put the rainbow up in the sky, and he made a covenant with Noah and with all flesh that he would not destroy the world again with water. He didn't say he wouldn't destroy the world again. He said he wouldn't destroy it again with water. So now in this second death, this second destruction, this second worldwide destruction, he's destroying the world again, this time with fire. Now, when he destroyed the world with water, did the world cease to exist? No. It was covered with water, and then the water abated, right? Well, this time, and you had some survivors, right? But in like manner, this time it's going to be destroyed with fire, but the whole earth is not going to be on fire. That thermonuclear fire would absolutely melt the earth, literally, right? It would melt the earth because it's going to burn the atoms, right? So the earth wouldn't be able to survive that. So no, this is not going to be the entire earth. Every square inch of the earth is not going to be on fire, right? The earth is going to survive this. And you can't cover the whole earth with that thermonuclear fire. Maybe you could with a regular fire, and then the earth would survive that, but not a thermonuclear fire like it's telling you here. This fervent heat that's melting the very elements and the atmosphere. The very atmosphere, the heavens, is on fire. No. The whole earth would not survive that type of fire, right? Furthermore, even if you wanted to make the case that the earth could survive that type of fire, no one here and no thing here could survive that fire, right? And we know from the precepts, through thy precepts I get understanding, therefore I hate every false way. We know from the precepts that there will be the elites that survive the second death, the thermonuclear destruction. Some of them are going to be under the water, some of them are going to be in bunkers, some of them are going to be in space stations, and they're going to survive, right? And then, like I said, there's going to be various places on Earth that are not directly hit by the thermonuclear destruction, and you're going to have some survivors there as well. Although it won't be very many. Let's prove that. Let's go to Isaiah, the 24th chapter, and we're going to prove that it's going to be very, very, very few people left on Earth alive. Okay, a fraction of a percentage. All right, I personally believe it's going to be less than 1%. You know, what exact number? I don't know. I can't say. But from the precepts, Isaiah 24 is a real strong one. We're going to get that, verse 6, and then you can put it with 2nd Ezra, the 16th chapter, and it paints a clear picture that the vast majority of the population of the world is going to die. All right, during this second death, right? A lot of them are going to die in the thermonuclear destruction, but a lot of them are going to die with the various other plagues all around the earth, right? So let's get this real quick because I got a lot of ground I want to cover, and if I don't get far enough, then I'll do a second part, which I might not. I might need to do a second part. You can start at verse 1, but for the sake of time to make this point, let's go straight down to the point in verse 6. When you come here to read this on your own, start at verse 1. Therefore hath the curse devoured the earth, and they that dwell therein, so there are survivors, are desolate. Therefore, the inhabitants of the earth are burned, and few, very few men left. Now, what's that very few? Well, just taking an educated biblical guess, I'm thinking, I'm thinking at the minimum tens of thousands, because this is going to be, you got to have a representative remnant from each of the heathen nations. So I'm thinking out of all the population of the earth, probably a minimum of some tens of thousands at a minimum, 70, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90,000, maybe at a minimum, all the way up to maybe a few million, maybe 10 million. I think that's on the upper end. I think that's on the upper end. All right, I think most likely some hundreds of thousands, possibly breaking into the some hundreds of thousands, possibly breaking into the tens of thousands. And that would get you less than 100. That would get you less than 1% of the world population, right? So 99+% of the world population, if you get down to that low, is going to die, right? Few men left, okay? Very few are going to survive this second death. But I tell you what, the good news is it's going to be a lot more than 8, because that's all that survived the first death. So if it's hard for you to believe that the Heavenly Father, Yahweh B'Shem Shai, is getting ready to kill off almost everybody on planet Earth, save possibly as few as a handful of tens of thousands, 40, 50, 60, 70,000, well then keep in mind that he killed off everybody earlier and he only left 8 people alive. All right, and then it should no longer be hard for you to conceive and fathom that. Right? So when we get back over here, let's get back over there, and we're going to wrap up that 2 Peter, and then we're going to get in the book of Revelation, and we're going to spend a lot of time in the book of Revelation. All right? And the elements shall melt with fervent heat. Right, the very atoms, protons, neutrons, and electrons burning, melting. If this was worldwide and the whole earth was going to be on fire like this, it would. What's the earth made out of? Elements, right? So it would melt the whole earth, right? No, the earth wouldn't survive that. It's going to be touching various places, but it's not going to completely consume the whole earth. Okay, keep in mind also that fire is metaphoric for the judgment of Yahweh B'Shem Shai. So and keep in mind also that there will be other fires that are not nuclear. Right? There will be fires from wildfires and fires from conventional warfare, etc., etc. And then you can get to the metaphoric fire, which is the judgment, the famines, the plagues, the pestilences, the sword. All of that combined is going to destroy and kill the vast majority of people on this earth. Right? The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burned up. Seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved. Right? Because this world system is not going to survive. This world system, the way things are currently on this planet Earth, is going to be destroyed and consumed with the fire of Yahweh B'Hashem Yahweh Shai's wrath and his fierce anger and jealousy, which is the same thing. Okay, so seeing that that's going to take place, seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of persons are ye to be in all holy conversation, meaning your lifestyle, your manner of living, your conduct, which your conversation in the sense of your speech is part of that. This is talking about everything that has to do with your conduct. How you live, how you behave, okay? What manner of persons are ye to be? Hey, how should you be living? In all holy conversation and godliness. Looking for and hasting unto the coming of the day of the Most High. That's how we should be. That's what we're seeking to do. We're hastening the coming of Yahweh B'Shem Shai by doing all we can to push this work. By doing all we can to cry out to him. Right? We're in the heavens being on fire. That's talking about this atmosphere. Right? The heavens being on fire, that thermonuclear mushroom cloud. And also the atmosphere is made up of what? Elements. So you might be getting spontaneous combustion of the air itself in various places. All right, because the air, the atmosphere is made up, which is what it's talking about when it says heavens, right? It's talking about it's like the heavens, the atmosphere is made up of elements, right? So the very air will be on fire. not just the thermonuclear mushroom cloud, but possibly other areas nearby just spontaneously catching on fire and then going out. Okay, it's going to be something this world has never seen before. And the elements shall melt with fervent heat. Nevertheless, we, according to his promise, look for new heavens, right? New rulership, right? And a new earth, right? The earth is going to be refreshed, and you can also liken those that are subjugated to the earth metaphorically as well, right? So a new ruling class, which is going to be the Israelites, and a new subjugated or enslaved population, which would be the earth, the Israelites, heaven, the heathen, the earth, and then also the earth itself. The literal earth is going to be refreshed and renewed in the kingdom of heaven, and that includes the atmosphere of the heavens as well, the whole earth, all of creation, right? And we're looking for a new heavens and a new earth wherein dwelleth righteousness, because that's what's going to reign supreme and exclusively. Not only supreme, but there's other things that are kind of, eking out. No, righteousness is going to reign supreme and exclusively in the kingdom of heaven. All right, before we go to Revelation, before we get firmly into Revelation anyway, let's go to Revelation 9 and 12. Okay, people don't understand that these pagan Christians don't understand the scriptures nor prophecy, and they don't understand that the Apostle Peter was talking about thermonuclear war, which is the second death. One period of time of great misery, sorrow, death, and destruction. That's what a woe is when you see it, right? But this woe here, along with the woe, these woes, I should say, because I'm going to tell you that it's more than one of them. These woes here in this particular verse are special woes. These are not your regular woes, which are kind of, I don't want to say generic, but they're just kind of, they're regular, and it almost doesn't sound right to say they're regular woes, because these are woes. Periods of time of great misery, sorrow, death, and destruction, right? I mean, come on, man. You don't want no parts of that. But then again, there are some special woes, all right, that are being discussed here and referred to here in Revelation, the 9th chapter. One woe, period of time of great misery, sorrow, death, and destruction, is past. And behold, there come two woes more hereafter. Two more periods of time of great sorrow, misery, great, extreme, and severe death and destruction. What are these woes? Well, you should already know. It's not hard to figure out. Everybody's talking about what? World War III. World War IV? No, nobody's talking about that. Maybe some people say, well, if World War III will be fought with nuclear weapons, and the next World War will be fought with sticks and stones. There will not be another World War. There will be no more wars. Read Isaiah, the 2nd chapter, the first 3 or 4 verses. Put that with Micah, the 4th chapter. Yeah. The 4th chapter, the first 3 or 4 verses. Okay. There are going to be no more wars after this. Okay. So you know what these woes are. It's the 3 world wars. You got it. The second woe is past. The Second World War is past, isn't it? You know it is, absolutely. What about the Third World War, huh? And behold, the third woe cometh quickly. So quickly, in fact, that it is already here, as Patrick. I always call him Patrick. Patrick is Patrick Humphrey. He's another one of these so-called truthers, these preppers, and he does good information too. But I always call him Patrick for some reason. Just as Travis was telling you, the Third World War is coming so quickly that it's here already. And indeed, it is. Only thing is, it's ramping up. It has not intensified all the way yet. All right? And because when it does, right? When it does, it's going to end in all-out thermonuclear war. That's what it's going to end in. All right? And Salaki, like I said, this isn't in transit, and sometimes somebody's acting weird and strange on the road, so it, commands a little bit more of my attention than I nominally give it, right? All right, so that's what's happening. I got somebody who's driving a little weird. I had to kind of pay attention to him a little bit. All right, so the second world war is past, and behold, the third world war cometh quickly. Now, he mentioned poking the bear. He mentioned, and correctly so, let me pause and lose this person. They're really strange. Let me pause it a quick second. All right, so he mentioned poking the bear, right? And, you know, when he refers to, and everybody does refer to Russia as the bear, and that's appropriate. That's very fitting, right? Because what happened to Russia? Russia used to be pretty much, Russia formerly was what? The Soviet Union. Okay, now, you had the collapse of the Soviet Union. Some of those nation states over there, provinces, whatever you want to call them, some of them broke off and decided to do their own thing, like Ukraine, right? But what? The bulk of them stayed together and became Russia, right? So what happened? Russia, the Soviet Union did what? Went into hibernation. The collapse of the Soviet Union. What happens to a bear when it goes into hibernation? It loses a lot of weight. I think like 25% of its body weight, 30%, 35% of its body weight, something like that. It loses a lot of weight, right? And then what? It wakes up. The Soviet Union woke up as what? Russia. Okay? Started off as the Soviet Union, went into hibernation, lost a lot of weight, woke up and came out of hibernation as what? Russia. Then what? What is a bear that's been in hibernation seek to do after that? It seeks to do what? Put on some weight. And that's what Russia's doing right now. First, Russia put on weight by just doing what? Building their economy, strengthening their economy. They got a lot of natural resources over there, a lot of commodities, right? And that's what they were doing. They were building their economy. They were, building their infrastructure, progressing their industries to take advantage of their vast natural resources. So they were putting on weight that way economically. And now what are they doing? They're putting on weight, as far as, getting back some of that land that they lost. See? So it's very fitting that Russia is referred to as the bear. But there's an even more fitting reason, let's put it that way, why Russia should be referred to as the bear. And it's in Revelation, the 13th chapter. Not to be confused with the bear of Daniel, the 7th chapter. That's a different bear. All right. That bear is the Medo-Persian Empire. Right. Not to be confused with that bear. Right. But Revelation, the 13th chapter, we're going to get the first two verses, and we're going to see that it's very fitting to refer to Russia as the bear, right? And this is why it's important to understand that Russia is and is not a part of the beast. It depends on which beast you're talking about, right? The beast here of Revelation, the 13th chapter, the first few verses, Russia is a part of this beast, right? But then you have a beast of like Revelation 17, that Russia's not a part of that beast. See, so it's very important to understand that, right? Revelation 13, and I stood upon the sand of the sea represents the people, and saw a beast, a governmental organization, a governmental structure, right? Rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, right? 7 heads. Those 7 heads would be the starting off with the Greeks, going to the Romans, Germania Major, Germania Minor, the French, the Spanish, and the British. See, and upon his head, and upon his slakia, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns. Right, the 10 horns today that represents the European, the EU, the European Union, right? NATO and the EU. Okay, that's what it represents. The EU, originally called the European Economic Community, and when it was established, it had 12 nations, right? but two sets of those nations are actually one. You had Spain and Portugal, which are one, and you had, what's that, Great Britain and Ireland? Yeah, which are just one as well. That's the United Kingdom, right? So those 12 were actually 10. You take those two sets of two, combine them into one, and the 12 becomes 10. That's your 10 horns. And it doesn't matter if later on you add other nations, you still can't stop or change or hide the fact that you fulfill prophecy, right? So that's that's your 7 heads and your 10 horns. And you had 10 horns. You had the 10 horns for the ancient Roman Empire too. And we're in the revived Roman Empire, by the way, but the ancient Roman Empire had 10 horns as well, which is 10 main vassal states. Ancient Rome had more than 10 vassal states. Israel was a vassal state. Okay, Judea was a vassal state, right? But you had the 10 main ones, which enjoyed and exercised a degree of autonomy as long as they, kept their end of the agreement, the bargain, right? But they were vassal states. And 10 horns back then, and you got 10 horns now today as well. And that's the reason why George Galloway, who is oftentimes a guest on RT, and I've seen him be a guest on a lot of different bloggers and etc. But he'll just come out and tell you, yeah, the EU are all vassal states. And he's exactly correct, because the EU is the 10 horns. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization, that is the system or the structure set up to govern the beast today, right? That is the system or structure set up to govern the beast today. That's why brothers will say NATO is the beast. And then you have the 10 horns, which is the EU, right? So that's your 7 heads and your 10 horns. And upon his horns, 10 crowns, all right? And so here, this beast represents the kingdoms and the empires and the empires and the kingdoms of Esau, Edom, the Edomites, the biblical Edomites, the so-called white man, generally speaking, spanning and ranging thousands of years, starting with the Greeks, going through the Romans, those were empires there. Okay, going through Germania Major, Germania Minor, the French, the Spanish, the British kingdoms. You can kind of call those empires too. They did a lot of colonizing, right? And then to what? The modern day revived Roman Empire today. Okay, spanning thousands of years. That's your beast right there, right? Verse 2. This is actually what we came for. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard. Leopard. Now, this does directly correlate back into this does correlate directly back to Daniel the 7th chapter, because in Daniel the 7th chapter, the third beast representing the third empire was what? A leopard that had 4 heads and wings on its back, right? Representing its swiftness, and the 4 heads representing the 4 main generals of Alexander the Great, who was an Edomite. You can trace his lineage, okay, through his father Philip of Macedon and First Maccabees, the 1st chapter, and you can trace him all the way back. You do a little legwork, do a little digging, just a little research. It's not terribly hard, but it take a little effort, and you can find out that he goes back to Esau. He was an Edomite. The Greeks during the Greek Empire were Edomites, right? So that's why this beast, which represents the empires, the empires of Esau, Edom, the empires and kingdoms of Esau, Edom, spanning thousands of years, starts off with the leopard. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard. Right. It had the head of a leopard. Right. And his feet were as the feet of a bear. Well, let me ask you a question. What is the feet of something? Is that the beginning of it, or is that the end of it? When Daniel saw the statue, actually, he didn't saw it. He broke down the vision, the dream of King Nebuchadnezzar. All right? Did he start with the feet, or did he start with the head? Well, he started with the head, and then then he got to the feet. And what was the feet? The feet is the end. We're actually in the feet. The toes mixed with the toes mixed with iron and miry clay. That's where we're at. It's the end of something. So here it says the feet of a bear, right? Because the kingdoms and the empires of Esau, Edom ends with the bear. And the bear represents who? Russia. And so what's this telling you? This is telling you that Russia is going to bring about the end of the kingdom of the Edomites. right? Let's get a quick precept on that. Jeremiah 50. I think the one I'm looking for is here. Yes, here we go. 50 and 9. For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon. That's America. Babylon the Great. An assembly of great nations. That's Russia. Russia itself, just like America. America is an assembly of nations, right? Nation states. Even today, they'll refer to individual nations as what? I'm not talking about nations that are part of some union, just individual nations. They'll call them what? Nation states, right? Well, that's what the 50 states are. They're individual nations that are all joined together in a union. That's the reason why they talk about breaking off sometimes, right? So it says here, an assembly of great nations from the north country. What's the most northern country on the planet? Russia. Ezekiel 38. Revelation 20, Gog and Magog. Isaiah 13, the Medes, right? Okay, so this is talking about, that's a veiled reference, a dark saying for Russia. All right, and Russia itself is already an assembly of great nations. So Russia itself already fits that bill and checks that box. But guess what? But wait, there's more. Russia is not going to be by itself. You know Russia's going to have all its homies with them. All of them. And it tells you that in Ezekiel the 38th chapter. Okay? It's going to have a lot of other nations with them. Starting, first and foremost, China, North Korea, and Iran. All right? Those are the big heavy hitters. All right? China, North Korea, and Iran. And then a whole lot of other Arab nations. Let's just go with Arab nations. And Hamitic nations, those African nations, Islamic nations. And then ultimately, all the nations that are going to join Russia against America, Babylon the Great, right? But Russia is going to have a lot of other nations with them. Most notably, China, Iran, and North Korea, and you can throw in Turkey too, which is a NATO member, right? Again, Ezekiel 38. I'm not going to get into that. I got that one in yesterday's lesson, last night's lesson. Again, check that out. The Spirit moves you to do so, right? But this is Russia bringing about an end to the kingdom of the Edomites, which is their kingdom too. They're Edomites too, right? And they're not going to make it out of this alive either. It tells you right there in Ezekiel 38 that the Heavenly Father is against Gog and Magog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal. That's Russia. They're going down too. And they shall set themselves in array against her, Babylon. Who's that? America. From thence she shall be taken. America is ruling and running this revived Roman Empire. She is the woman, the city that reigneth over the kings of the earth. Again, Revelation 17 chapter. And so when America goes down, this whole kingdom's going down, and Ashar, Gog and Magog, they're not going to survive to try to establish anything new. Okay? Read Revelation the 19th chapter, start at verse 11, go on down. Read Isaiah 63, start at verse 1, go on down. Read 2nd Ezra the 13th chapter, start at verse 1, go on down. Okay? All the kingdoms of the heathen nations. Read Daniel the 7th chapter. And I beheld till the thrones, the kingdoms, what kingdoms? Of these heathen nations were cast down. They're all going down. From thence she shall be taken, their arrows, missiles, shall be as of a mighty expert man. Mighty expert man. None shall return in vain. Right? So, I was going to be getting into a lot, but the Spirit had me get into other things first. So, I'm out of time. And what I'm going to do next time is... Well, let me finish this. And then we're going to get... next time we're going to pick up with Revelation the 9th chapter and Isaiah. I forgot to get that Isaiah. I forgot to get that Isaiah 9 and 5. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and grab that Isaiah 9 and 5, and I'm going to close on that. And then next time we're going to pick back up with this Revelation 13. I'll briefly review verse 1. We'll get, we started verse 2. But I'll finish up verse 2, and we'll get into Revelation, the 9th chapter, and we're going to get a long stretch there. Lord willing, this was edifying, and Lord willing, that lesson will be edifying as well. But let's get to Isaiah 9 and 5, and we'll wrap this up. And Isaiah 9 and 5 is pretty much straight to the point, point blank, period, straight talk, man. All right, this is not there's nothing metaphoric about this verse. This verse is literal. For every battle of the warrior is with confused noise. Yeah, Sun Tzu, the fog of war. That's what Esau calls it to this day, the fog of war. That's what this is talking about, confused noise, right? And garments, uniforms, rolled in blood, blood-stained. Yeah, that's how wars are fought. People getting shot up, stabbed up, blown up, right? Blood all over the place, right? And I don't think I played it far enough. I think I stopped it before. Hey, if I would have played it a little bit longer, our good friend Travis over there, the prepared homesteader, he would have been stressing how this is going to be a bloodbath. And he that's his exact term. Bloodbath. He didn't put as much stink on it as I did, but hey, you don't need to. The word speaks for himself. Bloodbath. And he said it like 3 or 4 times. Okay, he was emphasizing it, and he's correct up until the point that it goes nuclear. All right, but that's how all the wars are fought. Garments rolled in blood, blood-stained garments, bloodbath. But there's a line of demarcation. There's a line at which point whatever came before stops and proceeds no more. Now something new starts. Something new is the case, right? Before the but, it was confused noise and garments rolled in blood, but now that stops and something else is the case. Well, what is that? But this, behold, the third world war cometh quickly. But this shall be with burning. Yeah, the burning and fuel of fire. The burning and the fuel of fire, the fervent heat that the Apostle Peter was writing about in 2 Peter, the 3rd chapter. The thermonuclear destruction, which is the second death, which is unavoidable and which hasteth greatly. Lord willing, it'll be this year, right? So with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Before I do, I want to give all glory, honor, and praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh, Bahashim, Ruach HaKodesh. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Much peace, love, respect to the brothers teaching, pushing this truth out to the four corners of the earth. Adawan Radazad, this lesson was edifying and encouraging to you, Akim, and any Akwaf that may be listening and or watching. Ayashma Yakwana, Azanyam Lashemai Shemai. Let him who has ears to hear. Kwam Yasharala, Babakusha, Abai Baba Aitha, Wakal Adwam. Shalom Nahabakariam, Shalom.